Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Fitted Furniture Makers podcast. We're going audio only now on this one, and that's how we're going to go forward now, without the visuals on the on YouTube. So, if you're not used to podcasts, then you should find this on all sorts of platforms. I will put this on a YouTube video just with a sort of freeze frame background, and if you're finding it there, you can have a look at the other platforms in the description text below, and find the podcast on one of those platforms in future. So today we're speaking to Matt Robertson from Spacetidy. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Alastair. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, slight cold at the moment, so I'm hoping I'll not be coughing through this. But have you avoided the winter bugs yourself?
So far, yes. Yeah,
that's good. Far. Yeah, well, hopefully we can't spread germs down the audio recording. We're doing this from afar. A bit of an experiment, actually, doing this over an app, so I hope it all works. But yes. Matt, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and Spacetidy for those that aren't familiar with you?
Yeah, so I'm Matt Robertson. Spacetidy is my company, specialising in understairs storage.
Mm-hmm.
We're based in Essex, cover the sort of surrounding areas of Essex, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those that don't know, so you're a bit of a standout Instagrammer to me, partly because you've got so many followers. How does this guy get so many followers? And I want to ask you about that. But also, you've got a very defined type of work that you do very well from the looks of it, and that, I think that always makes someone stand out. So you're a real expert in a very niche field, even within fitted furniture. Do you want to tell us a bit of the backstory to how you came to be doing? So it's understairs storage, isn't it, that you're specialising in? And I know you're widening out a bit, but do you want to tell us the backstory to how you ended up doing what you now do?
Yeah, so basically, I trained as a carpenter when I left school. Done 3 years college.
Yeah,
done a few years sort of learning the trade. And then I went into site managing, and while I was doing that, I sort of I was doing jobs on like at the weekend. So I've lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so I was doing jobs at the weekend, and a friend of mine was going to get some understairs storage done by a company. The company let him down, so he asked if I could do it, which I'd done. Then one of their friends asked me to do one for them. And then it sort of, a few bits went on Facebook, and it just sort of snowballed from there, really. And it got to the point where I was like, right, well, I can't do both my jobs. So, I took the plunge and went for it.
Okay, so you must have done a good job on that first project.
Yeah, well, I've never been asked to go back to make any adjustments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that a real head scratcher when you first did that? Was there a lot of figuring out how am I going to do this, or had you done similar work in your past?
It was a real head scratcher. It was. Yeah. And every job since then, I'm still scratching my head.
Okay. Did you sort of land on an appropriate runner? Did you do loads of research and find a runner that you stuck with from the start, or has that changed throughout the process of developing it?
I've used the same runner from that very first system that I fitted.
Okay.
Basically, because nothing's ever gone wrong with them. So
yeah,
I've just stuck with it. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, and so you sort of worked your way up the ladder, I suppose, from being was it a site carpenter working on building sites to start with, to then being a site manager?
Yes. Yeah, again, I sort of fell into that role because the job that I was on, the existing site manager sort of weren't up to scratch, and then I just sort of said, look, I'll finish this job off, and then went from there with site managing.
So it's interesting that you went from that to running your own business. Was it did you see there being more money in running your own business, or was it more you'd enjoy that more?
It was more. We were starting a family, so we had a little girl back in 2016, and that's when I sort of took the plunge with it. Really, so it was a risk, but it's worked out mainly because it had to. And I just wanted to, because we was having the baby, I wanted to spend more time at home where all the site management work was up in London.
Okay.
So I was leaving at silly o'clock in the morning.
I see. Yeah.
Really late. So it was more at the time. Just I could work locally, get home at a decent hour, and spend some time with the family. So yeah, like I say, I just sort of had to make it work, and so far so good.
Yeah, well, it certainly seems to be going well from what I've seen. I mean, have you got a couple of guys working for you now?
Yeah, so my brother's come on board just before Christmas, and that was mainly to cope with all the emails. So I get so many messages, I just couldn't keep track of it all. And I've got a young lad, Joe, who's sort of labouring, but he's learning it really quickly, which is good. So yeah, I'm quite comfortable to leave him in the workshop some days while I'm out fitting the job. So
that is good. That must take the pressure off.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And it's not easy to find youngsters that you can rely on and that you can leave working and trust.
No, I've been very lucky in that aspect. And I mean, he's a friend of the family who I've sort of known for a few years. So yeah, it's worked out well so far.
I think that's often the best way. I mean, it's interesting. It's your brother and a friend of the family. I think everyone I've ever employed, not that I've employed lots, but I have had a couple of people come and go, and now I've got a couple of people working for me. They've all been through friends and family networks, rather than just sort of advertising cold and taking someone on.
Yeah.
And I think doing it that way, you have a certain amount of trust with that person. You know a little bit about them, and they're not likely to take you for a ride in any way.
Well, that's it. And I sort of learned that through the site management side of things. When I was doing that, there was a lot of people sort of come and went just because from like agencies and people who were saying that they could do the job but couldn't do the job.
And they don't owe you anything, do they? They don't. There's no relationship there. And I think relationship is important to these things working out.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you get so many followers on Instagram?
Well, yeah. So if you're on Instagram, which I know you are, I'm sure, like most people, they've heard of Mrs. Hinch.
Well, I actually hadn't heard of her until I was seeing stuff on your feed, and then I like a week later, I happened to see a book by or about Mrs. Hinch on the table of a friend who's quite into interior design. But I don't know a lot about her. So tell us who she is and your connection.
Yeah, Mrs. Hinch, she's an Instagram. She's an influencer, but her story's just crazy. From just doing a few cleaning bits in her house that then went viral, and her following's just gone through the roof. I think she's up to about 3 million now.
Well, what? So she was showing cleaning her house on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I sent her a message. I think it was back in October, 2018. Might have sent her a message just saying, "Look, this is what I do. Specialise in understairs storage. If it's something that you feel like you could use, give me a message." Didn't hear anything back. Just left it, and then back in February or March last year, I got a message from her saying, this is perfect. So I sort of went around there, designed up some understairs storage for her, made it and fitted it. Just thinking, like if she shares it, it'll sort of get the word out there a little bit. And then, overnight, my phone nearly crashed. I think I've got about 27,000 followers.
What? Overnight. Really? Overnight?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, because
Yeah,
so she went right ahead and posted a photo, tagged you.
yeah, she done like a little story on it of
Right.
after I'd left, and it was just absolutely crazy.
Wow.
I mean, after the job, I felt ill. I don't know if I was sort of anxious leading up to the job, and once I'd done it, it was all done, and I got home, and Megan, my partner, she'd sort of got me dinner all ready and stuff, and I was like, I just need to go to bed. I feel ill.
Huh.
So I've gone up to bed. And she's come running upstairs. Oh, Mrs. Hinch has shared a story on Instagram. So I looked at my phone and it was getting sort of, I think it's like 100 followers a minute.
Wow.
Or it was at the point of crashing my phone. It was just unbelievable to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the followers have come from, and sort of ever since then, it's sort of progressively grown, which is quite nice. I've done a couple of other jobs for her.
Yeah.
Which has helped along the way.
Well, that must help a lot, because that's a real seal of approval, isn't it? If she keeps having you back.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, it is a crazy story.
And you approached her. Is she quite local? Is she in your area of the country?
Yeah, so she's based in Essex as well.
Uh-huh.
And I honestly didn't think that I'd get a message back. It was just one of them. When she had messaged me, I thought it was a wind up,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't know what to reply. But I still don't know how she see my original message, because I get sort of hundreds of messages and I can't keep track of them on Instagram.
So she must get so many more, mustn't she?
Millions of messages. So I don't know if she'd maybe seen my stuff on Instagram, or someone's mentioned me to her, for her to then sort of see my page and maybe message me.
Yeah, and I guess if she manages to scan messages that come in, and that one logged in her head, and then one day she needed that, and he came back to mine, and she tracked you down.
Yeah, possibly, but who knows? But it's worked well for the following side of things.
Yeah, and it must have been great for business. Do you get most of your business off Instagram, or is it word of mouth, or most
of it comes through Instagram and Facebook. I don't advertise, which is quite nice. And yeah, I think just constantly updating Instagram does help.
And I think, like I said before, you've got a very clear. Well, it's a brand, really. It's a really good brand. And I had a quick browse of your website, and I think you said something on there about people sometimes think it's quite a big setup because you've got a clear logo and a very defined type of work. But I think it is just a successful branding thing to me, because I notice you have. I wonder if do you route in, or do you have a little CNC engraver or something, that Spacetidy logo?
I just route that in with
right. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I've made a template. It's a
great.
pretty just run it round and
because it looks so professional. Like you think, oh, this has come off a CNC machine. That's what I first thought.
Yeah, no, it's just a simple template. It's just a simple template with a little V groove, 1/4-inch bit in this tiny Makita router.
How interesting.
Yeah, I've not got the most technical workshop. I work from a shipping container.
I saw that. Yes, that was. It's only a few weeks back, or maybe I was just catching up with an old story or something. I remember seeing you getting it.
Yeah, so
delivered, fitting it out.
I've been working out of one for a couple of years now, but I got another one last year just to expand the space a little bit.
And is that just on your own land next to your house, or where is that?
No, I rent the land on a farm.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's local to me, so the rent's fairly cheap. But my idea was, if I buy a shipping container, fit it out as a workshop. That's my workshop. I can move that wherever I want to in the future.
That's a good point. Yeah. And it can just stay kitted out.
It's secure. It's watertight.
That's pretty smart, actually. I see what you're thinking. And so you got two now. So do they just sit
So
side by
I've
side?
got two 40-foot high cubes, which is quite. There's a lot of space in them.
Mm-hmm.
They look tiny when you look down in the photos, but there's actually quite a lot of space in them.
So what's the square footage then, roughly? Or how long by how wide?
So it's 40 foot long.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
8 foot wide.
Okay.
Yeah, my maths ain't the best either.
So that again.
My maths isn't the best either.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. No, I was, yeah, that's fine. I don't need to know the square footage. I just wanted
no, it's,
an estimate. I went quiet because I was just sort of picturing that. So 8 foot wide, same as the length of an 8 by 4 foot board, obviously. So not all that wide, but fair length.
It's not that wide, no. But I went with a high cube, which is 9 foot high, so I can stand boards up.
I see. And turn them a bit. You got a bit of extra space to turn them on diagonal and stuff, and not.
Yeah, I can spin a sheet round in there, which is quite. So yeah, I use one of the containers as sort of all the cutting and prepping, and then the other one's sort of more of a store at the minute.
Okay.
The more space you get, the more space you use up, don't you?
Yes, you're right. That's definitely true. And I see parallels with what we're doing in our line of work for customers, helping them organise space. And I often say to customers, look, the more space you have, you will always fill it. And everyone gets that great feeling of when you get a new storage solution designed. It's so great, and you could do anything with it. But how well you live in a space and how organised you are always comes down to your self-discipline, doesn't it?
Yes.
You can never get a solution that will give you the self-discipline to keep it tidy, really.
No.
So, yeah, and I can see that. I mean, I'm about to take on a pretty sizable workshop, which sort of sometimes fills me with terror, and sometimes I'm very excited about. I've got lots of time to think about it because it keeps getting delayed. The landlord's re-roofing it, but we've committed to this space, and it's a great space. It's a bargain price, and we needed to move, so it's definitely a good thing. But it's funny because it's 2,900 square foot, and I thought, I mean, this was quite a lot bigger than I thought I would move to as the next step. But when I've been laying it out, because we're now getting a panel saw and some other machinery, it actually started to feel quite small, and I couldn't believe it. Partly because we've got a spray booth in there, which is already there, so that kind of, you have to work around that, and that was relatively central. But yes, you can fill any size space, can't you? But I think you've always got to think smart about what you really need and how to organise the space.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've done with my workshop. We've got a system together now where, say, we'll put an 8x4 sheet in, then we'll rip it down to the sizes that we need, and then cut it to the lengths and cut it to what shapes they need to be.
And is that cutting all on rail saw?
So we put the sheets through on a table saw.
Okay.
And then the rest of it's just cut with a plunge saw. Yeah.
Okay. So you cut roughly to size or to manageable sizes on the table saw.
Yes. Yeah. And then all the lengths are cut using the plunge saw.
And is that Festool? Do you use Festool for the plunge saw?
Yes. Yeah. I've always used Makita, but sort of over the past year I've been slowly switching over to Festool. It's not the cheapest of stuff.
No.
So
well, how do you rate it's the TS55, isn't it? The plunge saw versus the Makita one. Have you tried both of them?
Yes, I've always had the Makita, and I've just gone over to the TS55, and I do like it so far.
Okay.
It feels more like a hot knife through butter. Where I don't know if my Makita was. I mean, it was pretty old, so it was probably getting a bit rattly. The only thing that I do like about the Makita is it's got a little clip on the bed that you can clip into the track
for the bevel cuts, so it doesn't tip over.
Yes, and I do a lot of bevel cuts, as you can imagine.
Of course.
But saying that, I've not had any issues yet.
Yeah, you just get used to it, don't you? You can hold the Festool one down on the rail.
Yes.
It's like a little extra help with the Makita clip, but you can
Yeah.
manage. I was interested in what you thought because I started with the Festool, and then we needed a second one because I'd be outfitting and Brady would be in the workshop needing a rail saw. So I thought, well, I'll get the Makita because I tried it. I tried a friend's and I thought this isn't bad, and obviously it's a lot cheaper. And when I first got it, I thought, I actually like this better because I couldn't really see any downsides to it. And it feels smoother. It's like the spring is a bit lighter, so you don't feel like you're pushing so hard to drop it down.
Okay, yeah.
But it doesn't have the riving knife that drops down, does it? Which I suppose is
No.
possibly a bit of a safety issue, but it's never been an issue really.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with it, to be honest, on the Makita. I do use I use a cordless Makita when I'm outfitting.
Okay.
So the workshop I'm trying to sort of make a bit more Festool, and then I've got a sort of install kit, and then kitting out the workshop a bit better now.
Takes time, doesn't it? I know I had a kit which was basically the install kit, but it used to go back and forth, so I'd be loading in and out, and then slowly it dawned on me I needed to start building up.
No, that's
a
exactly
pair.
what mine was. I used to do the same. It was just always sort of make the stuff in the workshop, load it all into the van, go and fit. But now I've got Joe working and Luke's starting to get involved with a bit of the manufacturing as well. I need the two kits, so if I'm outfitting, they can still do bits.
Mm-hmm. When I look at your business, just from the small amount that I understand about it, the impression I get from Instagram, I sometimes wonder if I don't know if you're much of a book reader, but if you've read, there's a book called The E-Myth Revisited. Have you ever heard of that book?
I have, yes. I have read that.
I thought you might have done because to me, it seems like you're applying a lot of those principles. And so for those listening, this is a book that I read quite early on in starting up a woodworking business. It was recommended to me. So it's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. And the letter E, stands for entrepreneur. I've always thought it's a strange title for a book, but the idea of the book is that a lot of business owners, or what you might call entrepreneurs, are not necessarily traditional entrepreneurs as we'd imagine it, but people that are very good at one thing, and it turns into a business, and then that business grows to the point where it has to grow beyond them, but it's always a struggle at that point for someone that's built their success on a skill, because they can't duplicate themselves, they can't replicate themselves. So the book goes on to explain that a successful business is built on systems. So you document how you do something down to the finest detail, and in such a way that you can teach it to someone else and get them to repeat it. So when I look at how you seem to have stayed really focused on a particular type of work, you seem to have perfected it and have made certain standard variations. And it looks like now you're teaching others. And I think I saw an Instagram post where you bought a stamp and you were just quickly stamping jobs as going ahead or something.
So each job, because every job I do is made bespoke, so I draw it all up to the stairs that we're fitting to. We go out, measure it up. It's not like a set size that we just fit.
No.
So I draw it all up, and I call it a production sheet. So I have like the panels, the framework, and like I say, we've got a bit of a system in the container now. But I bought that stamp last week because they was just filling up the stacks of paper or the production sheets, and I was like, that's just gonna sort of finish the job off. So bought that, stamp it as we fit the job, and it goes into the completed pile.
Must feel good to do that.
No, it's funny because like just before Christmas we sort of introduced a whiteboard into the workshop as well, and on the whiteboard we've got like so the customer's name, the type of system that we're fitting, and then I've done like a big checklist of say the production sheet. So once I've produce the production sheet, we'll tick that off. Then it will go into the different parts of the frame that we make up, the face panels, all the way through to the date that it's installed, and we're constantly just ticking off, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, and it deals with what can become chaos in your head when you've got loads of jobs going through.
Yes.
To be able to just see it all up on a whiteboard is really helpful. We use a whiteboard where, I don't know if it's the same as what you're describing. So each job is a Post-it note with the customer name on, but the colour of the Post-it refers to the type of job. So our standard bread and butter work, which is fitted alcoves, is, I think it's green. I forget. I should know, but actually I've kind of delegated this actually to Camilla. We've got a 2-day-a-week office admin, Camilla, and my wife is co-director and helps with admin and finance. So I just know that they're always looking at that and making sure stuff's moving through, and then prompting me if the pipeline at the start of the board is looking a bit thin, because that's the other benefit of it. Because so the way ours works is we've got a series of columns on a big long whiteboard. Each column's like a foot or so wide, and it starts with inquiries, then through to surveys booked in, then through to jobs that need to be quoted, and then on through stages of production planning, and then in production and in fitting. So we just move the Post-its into the next column. Is that how you do it, or is it more of a sort of
very, very
chart
similar,
ticking off?
What we do with that sort of process is we'll create a folder on the laptop, and we save all the folders to the desktop, and then we've got coloured sections on the desktop, and we just drag it across the folder into each one.
That's interesting. What? So you mean you've just got an image you've created as the desktop wallpaper with coloured bands in? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
And then you just drag them across.
Drag that, yeah.
Because there's apps that do that, like Trello. Have you ever looked at Trello?
I haven't. No.
Right. I mean, well, I don't think you need to be honest, because you've got a great system that works, and that's such a clever sort of like a lateral thinking thing. You've just created an image and you just drag the folders across. You don't need an app. I like that.
Yeah, I don't like getting tied into all the subscriptions.
Yeah, so you're smart. You're smart not to. Yeah, so it's finding a simple solution, isn't it? That just works.
That's it. It's quite easy, I think, to get caught up in all the apps and just keep it basic. Like I say, if I showed you the workshop, it's very basic, but sometimes genius. So some of the things that we've done in there.
Well, there's a saying, and I've said this before. It's probably something people can get bored of me saying it, but simplicity is on the far side of complexity.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why I'm an Apple man. I like Apple design because they've bundled a load of clever stuff into some really sleek and simple products that just work. And I think that's how good design should be. It just works. It's just simple.
Yeah,
don't have to overthink it. So we started talking about the E-Myth book. You said you had read that. Do you see that as something that informs the way you run the business a lot?
Definitely. Now you've mentioned it, yes, I read it back when I was site managing. The director of the company gave me the book and said, "Oh, you need to read this. It sort of opens your mind a bit, and maybe it's gone in subconsciously, and then as this is sort of, it's just organically growing. But I suppose that's in there, and it is working to that book."
Yeah, I think it probably is, because I made that connection just seeing, not having known you'd read the book, just thinking this guy understands systems.
Yes,
and processes.
Yeah. That I'm actually at the minute sort of dedicating an hour a day just to writing systems for each process that we're doing. Just because I think I need to.
That sounds very organised. And that'll quickly add up, won't it? An hour a day.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah.
No, I'm sure it will.
It's just dedicating the time to it, and it's just difficult, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and balancing it all with family. I know family is very important to you. I've seen from what you said earlier, and I've seen on your Instagram that it's clearly important that you take that time out with family. How do you find that as things are growing and getting busier? How do you find balancing your time?
It's tricky, very tricky, but I'm trying to schedule my time now. So getting up a little bit earlier in the morning, not going to bed at silly o'clock at night. Because that's what I was doing. I was getting home from work and sitting on the laptop till 12, 1 o'clock. So, but now Luke's...
It's not really sustainable, is it? It's not healthy.
No. So I'm gonna... I've only recently started this, so I'm going to try and stick to it, going to bed at a decent time and putting all my focus in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
so sorry, go on.
I lost track there when I was...
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, it's all interesting. I've got a bit of a structure to these podcasts, which I'm pretty loose about sticking to, but a couple of my standard questions are: how do you make a shaker door? How do you make a floating shelf in an alcove? So how would you answer each of them? How would you make a shaker door?
So the shaker door, I use the sort of plant-on method. So with the understair storage, I'll make the panels out of 18mm moisture-resistant MDF, and then I'll use an 80mm strip of 6mm.
Okay.
I PVA both sides, so on the... I'll mark out where the rails are sitting on the panels.
Yeah.
PVA both bits, and then pin it with a 23 gauge nailer.
23 gauge, so pretty fine.
Is it? Yeah, really fine.
Yeah.
And the reason I do it like that is because I screw my panels to drawer boxes. So if I was to make it with a panel recessed in it,
I see. Yes,
there's a void between the drawer box and the panel.
Okay, so it's really more fit for purpose. So it's not only about being easier or quicker. It makes more sense to do it that way.
Yeah. So all my drawer boxes, I make it at 12mm MDF, and then I'll use a 25mm screw to sort of pump through into the 18mm panel. So yeah, if you see my the shaker style that I do, that's the reason why I do it like that.
And do you chamfer the corners of the 6mm strips where they meet so you get a V joint?
Yes, but I don't on the so on the angled drawer fronts. There'll be like a horizontal joint where we don't chamfer that one. I try to keep that flush.
Does that just look better with the angle? Does it look less fussy?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so would you glue where they butt together and then sand them? Would you have to fill that a bit to keep it smooth?
Yeah. So all my work, I have it sprayed by a guy who I've been working with for the past couple of years, and he sort of, any little filling bits, he'll take care of that and spray it.
Oh, that's good. So you've just delegated that out.
Yeah. I'm between me and it's Danny at Village Interiors. We've sort of built up a bit of a relationship. So he'll say to me, "I don't think this chamfer bit's working. Can you use a different bit?" Or we've sort of thrown ideas backwards and forwards till we've got it working perfect.
And so, would you do a full test assembly? Would you get all your drawer boxes in the frames, get all your frontages on, and your gaps good, and whatever scribes and fillers, as if it was in the space but not in the space, then dismantle, then get it sprayed? Or how do you do that?
No, so I start off by making all the panels first. So I'll lay them all out on the bench with the spaces between them. Okay. Make sure that they all line up perfect, and cut them to the space that I'm fitting to. Okay. And then they'll go into spraying. While they're being sprayed, I'll make up the framework and the drawer boxes. Okay. Because I draw it all up on sort of Google SketchUp. Yeah. It's so accurate. I put all my trust in the measurements on there, and it works.
Yeah, well, it seems to. Yeah, you seem to be knocking them out.
Does that make sense? Or I'll just explain
Yes, I
it.
think it does.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're doing it's like a 2D layout with your boards off the
yes,
drawing,
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and then you're just referring to that same layout and making sure that your draw boxes are lining up with where those frontages will be.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay, and so then you can just crack on getting it made while the frontages are getting sprayed.
yes, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what I tend to do is sort of make up, I don't know, make up to 10 jobs with the face panels, give them all to the
Okay,
sprayer, um, and then while they're all being sprayed, yeah, I'll make up the next, like, all the framework and draw boxes.
so there's a good quantity of jobs pushing through then, from the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, it's difficult because the sprayer doesn't work for me directly. He's got all his own
Hmm.
work. So what I've started to do is, so I'll book him in for 2 weeks of each month. So I have to make sure that there's enough work in there for him to
Okay.
be doing.
I guess it's quite good to have a structure, though, isn't it? So you've been forced to work around his schedule, but then that probably gives you a target. I imagine you're then pushing to get more jobs in to fill that time.
Yes, yeah. So I aim to fit sort of 3 jobs a week at the minute. So
Hmm.
I'll fit on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, um, which
And then you
works on average.
designing and other admin in between.
Yeah, or I'll be in the workshop on
Of
a
course,
Tuesday
yeah.
and Thursday. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I was doing it before without Luke and Joe. I really don't.
Yeah.
It's because I was doing everything, but
You said
yeah,
you're working late a lot. Do you even now? When do you fit your survey visits in? Do you go after hours, or do you try and see people during working hours, like
well,
standard working hours?
Luke's started to do all that side a bit of he does all the surveys now, which is quite good, so he can get out during the day while I'm fitting.
Was Luke your brother?
Yes, yeah,
Okay. Well, that's good. That's not an easy thing. I struggle to hand that over. When you've got to put your trust in that person getting the angles surveyed right. So you've obviously got a lot of confidence in him.
yeah, and again, I think it comes down to putting that system in place.
Hmm.
Now, I've sort of got a system of how I survey each job. Although they're all different, I've got certain ways that I go about doing it. And I took Luke out with me when he first
Hmm.
came on. He was coming out measuring
I
up every
see.
job with me.
So he shadowed you. He picked up your methods by
Yeah,
watching how you do it.
yeah. And to be honest, he probably takes more information now than what I used to take from each customer. So I use an app called Measures where you
I
take
think
your photos.
someone just told me about that, or a similar one. Is that where you can take a photo and draw dimensions straight onto it?
That's it. Yeah. So you can
Hmm.
put your dimensions, your angles, comments. So that's the main sort of tool that I use for the survey. But then what Luke's been doing is taking pictures of everything, just because I think he's a little bit nervous of getting getting it wrong.
Well,
Um,
I think actually that is something that has to happen when it's no longer all in your head and you can remember something or just instinctively know how something should be done. When you expand to a team, there is more of a burden of communicating everything.
yeah,
Something I've noticed, and that can be hard to manage because we've had mistakes where I just assumed somebody would do something a certain way or knew something because if I was making it, I'd have gone from having it in my head at the survey to designing it to making it. But you just have to communicate so much more to make sure it's all clear. That's what I found.
yes, yeah, totally, yeah.
So how do you survey an angled space? What's your method for recording that angle accurately?
Right. So what I'll do is I'd measure. I call it A, B, and C. So the A measurement will be floor to the highest point of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you've got a newel post, haven't you, that comes out of the ceiling, or
Yeah, which can
sometimes the
mess
post
with
comes.
that sort of top corner of the triangle. It can sort of mess with finding where that meets. Is that what you mean? I've had ones like that.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I call that the A measurement, so floor to the highest point. Then the B measurement would be from the bottom newel post to that point where I've taken the A measurement. And then I take what I call the C measurement, which is down at the lower end. So that would be the floor to where the bottom of the stairs starts.
So do you mean, would you get a laser level out and line it up with the lower, like sort of where the angle springs up from? There might be like a foot of vertical, mightn't there, off the newel post, and then the angle starts.
Yes.
So
I used to use a laser. I don't anymore. Most of the time, there's the sort of the understairs has got some sort of partitioning under it or some sort of wall. So I'll measure to the underside of the trim. So it's normally like an architrave or some sort of trim that's covering the joint between the stringer and the wall. So I use that as a guide with the measurements, and then I use an angle finder.
See, that's what I was wondering. So you get the exact angle using. Is that what you mean? It's something that you offer up, a bit like a spirit level, but it tells you the angle.
I always take the angle from the base rail of the balustrade.
Okay.
Just because what you'll find with the trims, they might not be put on parallel to the stringer.
Yes, I see.
So I always take the angle from the base rail point of the stringer. So yeah, I'll do that. So I'll take the angle using an angle finder, use those measurements, and then when you put those measurements into SketchUp, you can use the angle finder on SketchUp to.
That's interesting. So the angle, the slope is sort of like your datum. You can put that in. You know that angle's correct, and then you can almost sort of drop down your measured heights from that.
Yes, yeah, or draw. If you take, I'd need to show you. I'm terrible.
I know. I'm thinking as we're saying it, I'm thinking this is the hardest thing to try and picture, isn't it? And make sure that people listening are picturing it. But I think it's important, to my understanding, to know that you measure the angle with an angle finder.
Yes,
because that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose the best thing to do is just measure all points that you can with a tape measure.
Yeah,
as accurate as possible. Use an angle finder to find the angle, and then I use SketchUp to draw up what I've measured, and then check the angle between SketchUp and the angle I took using the angle finder. I understand.
I wanted to know how you do it because I've come a cropper in the past so I don't have an angle finder, and I don't know why really. I should probably just get one. But you sort of get into your habits of how you do stuff. And in the past, what I've done is I've plotted points. So I've measured up and I've measured across, and it's sort of like vectors or trigonometry where I never actually measured the angle, but I thought if I plotted the highest point and the lowest point, the distance between them, then I'll end up with the angle. But where it became a problem was where I'd made an assumption that the floor was level, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
So what I now do is I get my laser level out, and the very first thing I do is, so I might have drawn an elevation. So you're looking at this sloping opening. The first thing I do is put the laser level down on the floor, and at the rightmost and the leftmost point, I just drop a tape measure onto the floor and see where the laser crosses it and see the difference between the two. And then on my drawing, I'd sort of write a 0 point, and then it might be plus 10 millimeters over on the other side. And then what I'll then do is I'll measure up from each of those points, but knowing that when I go into SketchUp to draw it out, I'm then adjusting it by the plus or minus 10, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I still don't measure the angle, but my method has so far been working by accounting for the slope of the floor that if I just plot it all then in SketchUp, I get the correct angle. But it makes a lot of sense to get an angle finder. What would you recommend? What tool is it? Am I picturing it right? Is it like a sort of like a spirit level, or is it a digital thing?
Yeah, so it's a digital. I think it's a Silverline one. It's not even the best
Oh,
angle
right.
camera you can find. So,
Well,
but
no, it wouldn't be
it
if it's
works.
Silverline.
It works.
Yeah, if it works, doesn't it? So is it one of those
Yeah.
little blocky things, or is it quite a
No,
long
no,
thing?
it's like a spirit level that
Okay.
opens up like a sliding bevel.
Hmm.
So as you open it up, it sort of it digitally shows you the angle.
So do you mean that you keep part of it level, and there is a spirit level bubble that tells you that's level, and then you open another arm up to the point where it meets the angle?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's
Yeah.
sort of it's semi-manual. It's not. It hasn't got a gyroscope or thing in like a laser or something inside it that knows where it sits in space. It's just
No, no, it's just it's like a level that
okay.
with an arm that opens up. Yeah.
And that's always worked, has it? That arm hasn't got in the way of getting it to the angle. The bit you have to hold horizontal doesn't sort of get in the way sometimes.
No, no, I've never
Right.
had a problem with it.
Okay. Well, I think I'll look this thing up. Um, so you haven't got expensive tastes in all your tools. You're going Festool for the workshop, but you don't get the most expensive for everything when you don't need to.
No, no, I've had a couple of toolkits stolen in the past, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Was
not
was that
nice.
from your van or
Yeah,
not out of the
yeah.
shipping
My
containers?
van's. I mean, unless I'm fitting a job, my van's always empty. There's nothing in it,
Okay.
just because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens a lot, doesn't it? A lot. I know a few people who've had it done more than once to them, and I've been fortunate so far. But
Oh, it's the most sickening feeling in the
yeah, I
world.
bet. I bet. Did your insurance cover it when it happened to you?
Yes, just
Huh.
yeah. It did. Well, it didn't cover all the tools, but I
Mm,
think I had about £1,500 that they gave me for tools, and it sort of covered enough of what was
okay.
stolen.
Must have been a loss though in time, productivity, sorting it all out.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's the small hand tools that
Yeah.
you don't realise, like a hole punch, just or a nail punch. Sorry, it's
Yes.
little bits like that. I'd go to get it, and I was like, oh, they got stolen, didn't it? So
Uh,
yeah,
and then finding one that's just the same and sits the same in your hand as what you're used to, I'm sure is difficult.
yeah, no, it's not nice.
No. So, how would you make a floating shelf in an alcove?
Right, I've not really done many, to be
Okay.
honest. Um, the ones that I have done, I I battened out around the wall.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't even know, maybe 38 by 38
Yeah.
timber batten, or make it like a ladder,
Oh yeah.
and then just clad it with MDF, I suppose.
I've had it, but
Top
glue,
and
sort
bottom,
of scribe glue and pin it on.
yeah,
Was
so
it
top and
23 gauge?
bottom, and then
Yeah.
maybe cap the front so the joints are on the
Uh
top
huh.
and bottom, not on the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What type of MDF do you use? I meant to ask that earlier.
So for all the panels that we have sprayed, I use a sandwich core MDF,
Uh huh.
like moisture resistant MDF. It's really dense. It's quite a heavy ball, to be honest.
I've just remembered.
But
I asked you this on Instagram, didn't I? And you sent me the link. There was a supplier that you recommended that I hadn't heard of. What was the place you
yeah,
get it from?
it's Stellofoam,
Okay.
which is they're like a bedroom supply outfit in
Oh, okay.
Rainham in Essex.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I'm sure they'll supply to wherever wants the
Okay.
material. I've not come across it anywhere else, to be honest.
Well, that particular MDF.
Yeah, yeah, they actually sold it to me when
Okay.
I think I went to pick up some melamine balls for a job, and they asked me what MDF I used. So originally I just used standard MDF. Then I went into using moisture resistant,
Yeah.
and then they told me about this MDF, and yeah, I've not looked back since, to be honest.
Would you find you can get a better, flatter sprayed finish on it?
Yes, and also where it's so dense, you don't have to. We used to edge band
Okay.
the edges of the MDF just for a nice smooth finish. But this
Yeah.
is so dense, you just sand it. I mean, I sand it with a 120, then a 240.
Yeah.
And that's good enough to spray, to be honest. It's as good as the front.
Yeah. I wonder if it's Medite. So they haven't told you the actual brand. They just said here's a good
No,
type.
yeah, they've not told me the brand.
But then I would have, the Medite that I get, it always says Medite printed on the edge. You would have seen that.
Yeah,
But I've tried a few, and Medite seems to be the one. Talking to others that do this kind of work, that seems to be the one most people settle on. Because
yeah,
I tried ones that just still that even though they're moisture resistant, they were sort of flecky when you painted them, and it's
yeah,
partly because I use water based paint, but it would raise flecks on the surface. But Medite doesn't do that so much.
yeah. No, when I first started, I was going through sort of all types of MDF, and I always found that Medite was the best, like you say.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, now I use this sandwich core for all the face panels, and then I'd use Medite for the framework and drawer boxes.
And so is that the Medite Premier or is that the Medite MR for the framework?
It's just their standard.
Standard, yeah. They I think they call it Premier, but it's actually just the standard brown board.
Yeah.
Which again, that's not bad as standard MDF goes. But I know when I've gone from working with moisture resistant to the Premier, it seems noticeably softer and fluffier.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you joint? You said 12mm for the MDF drawer boxes. How do you joint the drawer boxes?
Just screw them. So I pre-drill it with a 3mm drill bit, and then screw them down the edge.
Right. Okay. I would have been wary doing that with 12mm standard MDF, but it's obviously been working because you've been churning these out, haven't you?
Touch wood. I've never had a comeback on a drawer box.
Right. Okay. So screw and PVA glue?
No, I just screw them.
Okay.
Just because sometimes if I get to a job and there's like a gas meter or some sort of meter behind, I can take it apart. I can make the box smaller.
I know what you're saying. I used to go belt and braces on everything. I don't even know why. I used to screw and glue all my carcasses, and then I had a few jobs where I had to take it apart for some reason. I thought, why am I doing this? Because the screws are doing all the work, really, anyway.
Yeah, so. I remember one of the first jobs that I fitted, I made the frame. So all my framework, I make 600mm deep. The drawer boxes are slightly deeper.
Okay.
But the reason for that, one of the first jobs I made, I think I made the framework to the size of the stairs. It was about 750mm.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get through their door frame.
Of course, yeah.
So I make it all rigid in the workshop. So it's just easier to fit.
So do you make that the whole triangle pre-assembled, the whole frame? Oh, yeah. I see. That helps to explain the speed that you're installing these things, because I've seen a couple of your installs. Yeah. I think he's in and out quick. That's clever. So the whole thing's pre-assembled. Do you sometimes do? I thought I'd seen you do more of a maybe 3 or 4 inch sort of face frame. Is that maybe for the doors?
Yes. Yeah. So the door, I'll just make like a door lining.
Okay.
I'll make them sort of 120 the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the 600mm deep carcasses, so they're open at the back because the drawers go beyond. And then, so you screwed your runners, which are they're ball bearing type runners, is that right? So Accurite style, So that's sorry to interrupt. So that 600mm depth, that's enough. Then, even if the runner is poking further back, it's supported enough onto the carcass.
No, so the runners I'll keep at 600 or 550.
Okay.
Then I make the drawer box normally around 700mm deep. Sometimes
it doesn't have to sort of go the whole way back, does it?
No. And what I found is if you restrict it or keep to the 600mm runner, it sort of keeps the balance of the drawer nice when it's fully extended, and you're not coming too far into the customer's hallway.
Interesting. And then so you can still access what's at the back. It's just not coming right out, fully extended.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
So because this sounds like another clever part of your system. So you've got pretty much a standard runner. You've got your standard depths of carcass, which is an efficient use of board, isn't it? Because you're just halving a 4 foot wide board.
Yeah.
And then are you then able to buy in bulk a load of those 600mm runners?
Yeah, I'd just buy them. So say like in April, I've got 12 jobs to fit. I'll buy all the runners for that month.
Yeah.
In advance.
And they're touch to open. Is that right?
Yes. So the runners on, I use a push catch, a Hafley push catch in the centre.
Oh, okay. So it's not even built into the runner. I feel like, I hope you don't mind me grilling you on all these things, because you've sort of given away a lot of your trade secrets.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
But I mean, this is what I do, and people sometimes say, "Why do you tell everybody how you do stuff?" And I always think, well, I don't think I'm going to lose by telling people how I make Alcove furniture, because for every person that goes and does it my way, I could probably get at least two customers who see me doing it my way and like it and book me.
Yeah.
So yeah. I've always.
I'll be honest. I could tell you every single sort of piece of ironmongery I use, but there's certain distances where I fit them as well that does it does help, if that makes sense.
I didn't understand that. Sorry, say it again.
so like with the draw runners,
yeah,
I might position them different to someone else, and they might work better.
Interesting. Okay. So there's little tricks, little things.
There are little tricks. I'm not going to reveal them all.
No, I can understand. But it's interesting, because I just assumed that you, I assumed you're using longer runners, and I'd assumed that they were touch to open, because I knew that your units were handleless. And when I've done understairs storage work, I've always found it hard to price it profitably, because I just was locked into the mindset of it's quite a deep space, so I'd better get a 700mm runner. And if they wanted it handleless, I'd be looking for a touch to open runner.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It sounds like it's not necessary.
No.
No. And it is interesting in our line of work. Sometimes you've got to think outside the box, or it's just keeping it simple, isn't it? So
exactly. Yeah, I've just tried to keep it as simple as possible, and not at a great expense.
Yeah. And in that, on that subject, you don't paint the internals, do you? Which no. I relate to, because I don't paint the internals of the Alcove-based cabinets that we do a lot of. And it's one of the main things that people pull me up on, because I do these YouTube videos about how we make stuff. And the problem is, when you put yourself out there and say, this is how we do it, it can rub some people up the wrong way, because it's as if you're saying, I'm the expert, I'm really good at it, which is not really what I'm saying. I'm just the guy that's telling people how I do it.
Yeah.
But people will say, oh, that's not very good. You don't paint the internals. I bet your customers aren't happy with that. And I say, well, I don't make a lot of profit on these, actually. And I found that a lot of customers were saying to me early on, because I'd be painting everything, and they said, I don't really care if it's not painted inside, because I just want it to look good outside, and it's going to be stuffed full of things. So I thought, well, why am I taking more time and money to paint the insides when most people don't care? So I just standardized on not painting inside, and giving people the upgrade price. But I can totally understand why you wouldn't be painting the insides, because that would be a massive amount of extra work, wouldn't it, and cost?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because we have it all sprayed as well. If you add up the square meterage of the insides, it's probably 3 or 4 times the amount of just the face panels.
Yeah. How many customers really care? I mean, Mrs. Hinch was clearly over the moon, wasn't she? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and once you've filled the drawers up, you're never going to see the insides once they're closed, and then when they're open, they're normally full up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose the downside I sometimes think is I suppose over time they'll get a bit dirtier, easier, finger marks on them or whatever. But again, does it matter much?
No, I mean, quite a clever sort of, this come from a customer as well, which we offer as a sort of optional extra, is putting a bit of perspex in the bottom.
Okay.
Because a lot of people use the understairs storage for their shoes. So a bit of perspex, it's just nice and clean.
You can get drawer liner material, can't you? There's a little supplier that I sometimes use for odds and ends. What's it called? Something like BP Plastics, Banbury Plastics. Anyway, there'll be loads of places that do these, but you can get these sort of rubberized mats that you can easily just cut with a Stanley knife that are made for just sitting in the base of a drawer for that reason.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I was thinking about getting some, just some, like when you have a car cleaned and they put the foot pieces of paper in.
Yeah.
I was going to do that with the Spacetidy logo on.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because that would do, wouldn't it? And sometimes you see that in drawers, just paper. And it's back to keeping it simple and keeping it low cost, isn't it? Because perspex seems a bit overkill.
Yeah, it is. No one ever goes for it.
No, okay. So you got the option.
Does. Yeah, right. The odd customer does, but we give them that option.
Okay. I'll see if this place, because they sent me samples of this stuff, which I think is perfect for what you're saying. I'll see if I can dig out. I'm just looking at my row of catalogues, which I never look at. I've got loads of catalogues on the shelf, and I really only ever buy from one or two places. But I'll because my office is in my house, so I've just wandered into it. Anyway, yeah. I'll see if I can find this place and send it to you, because I think it would be a good little addition.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Yes.
Yeah. So just I mean, working towards the end of my list of questions, what is your ideal project? I don't know if that's a funny question, because I can picture the typical project you do, but what is your ideal project to be asked to do?
The shaker style look nice. I do like the shaker style. There's a bit more work involved.
And do you find you can price? Do you price for the amount of work involved? Is it worth it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just because there is a bit more work involved, but
of course, yeah. Okay, so do you get more satisfaction from doing that? You stand back and think, "Oh, that looks really good."
After I've fitted the job, I stand back and think that looks good.
Uh-huh.
But there's more involved in fitting it, and sometimes that can be a bit. I suppose it's a little bit aggy sometimes, because where the drawer fronts are slightly deeper, you then have to allow for that on where you sit in your frame.
Oh yeah.
Because the trims that I still use like an 18mm trim.
Uh-huh.
So I'm having to set the frame back a little bit to allow for the fronts.
Yeah, I understand. So otherwise it's just plain sailing, so you line your frame up flush to a face that's then going to have 18mm on your frame and 18mm on your cover strip, and you're not going to think about it. Yeah.
I'll when they're sprayed a different colour's nice. I know I'm fitting the same job every day, but when it's a different colour, it just seems to give you a different feel. Don't know why.
No, I know what you mean. It can get a bit monotonous. We do a load of white work, and it's kind of good because you just knock it out. I mean, I suppose it's different for us because we're painting in house, so we're quite glad if we can just batch together stuff with the same paint. But when you get a nice shade of grey or even something a bit crazier, it is different, isn't it? And it looks good on Instagram.
Yeah.
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 So what do you most love about your work?
I suppose it's that satisfaction from drawing it up to then fitting it and standing back and thinking, yeah, I designed that and made that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, it's just nice because I'm involved with the whole sort of process. It's just nice to see it from that, like I say, from drawing it up, making it all, fitting it, coming away knowing that you've done a good job,
uh-huh.
And the customer's happy.
would you say you're happier and more satisfied doing this work than when you were site managing?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
is that because it's your work, you've designed it, seen it right through, as you said?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just like physically, like manually working,
Yeah,
um, like with my hands making stuff.
I see. So
Um,
were you more desk bound, or just sort of instructing others for a bit as a site manager? It must have been.
yeah, yeah, it's more admin sort of
Yeah,
work, sort of. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of stress.
yeah. Sounds like though that you picked up a few things from there that have informed the business. Like you said, the boss there put you onto the E-Myth book. Do you think you picked up a few other things about the running of a business that maybe set you in good stead for
Oh,
Spacetidy?
yeah, definitely. Like the systems, making systems for your business. Because he got us involved with that as well, sort of trying to make systems to make the whole process of the site managing easier.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I took that away from the site managing and sort of put that into this job.
Okay. Is there anything that you don't like or even hate about your role now?
Um, Not really. I-
It's
I've
good to
not really
hear.
thought about this. I've not really
Well,
thought about this. I'll
no,
probably
I
get off
think
the phone and list a whole lot of them.
it can
Um,
depend from day to day. Well, if you're anything like me, it can look quite different from day to day.
yeah.
But
Occasionally, a customer might drag their heels paying.
right,
Um,
yeah,
but they'll they'll go out their way. This is very rare that this has happened, but it did get my back up. They'll go out their way to go on social media,
uh,
post about how great their understairs storage is,
I said I'll
but
take time for that.
they've got time for that, but not to pay their invoice.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's a bit
yeah,
annoying, isn't
I,
it? And
I don't like them.
is it you are you the one that's chasing the money, or have you got anyone that's doing that admin side of things?
Yeah, so Luke's doing that
Yeah,
a bit now, but up until now, don't get me wrong. Sort of 99% of the customers
sure.
pay straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had that a couple of times, and it does get my back up.
Yeah, because it's a sort of disrespect, isn't it? It's even if they're singing your praises and the praises of your work, it's like it hasn't crossed their mind that you kind of need the money.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say really motivates you? Because I mean, you're driving this business forward. You sound pretty ambitious and well organized. What really motivates you to be doing this? Because it's easier in many ways just to get a job, to work for someone else. What's really
Yeah,
driving you forward?
I think about that every day. Just getting a normal job.
Really?
um, no, I do love this. I do love it, but there are a lot of stresses, aren't there?
Yeah.
And um, and you just think, oh, I could just go back to the job and not worry about all this.
I'm interested to hear you say that. I mean, I said really, but I do the same. I always think about it would be so much easier just to go work for someone else, have a regular paycheck, switch off afterwards because
Yeah,
the whole thing wouldn't be on my shoulders. I could just do. I could just have a defined role and not have to worry about everything.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean,
but
mate,
yeah,
that probably is quite natural and common to people running a business, isn't it? To sometimes feel the strain, but it's coming across that you seem to thrive on it as well and
yeah.
enjoy it. Go on. Yeah,
Oh, definitely. No, I do love it. It's my baby at the minute.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's going back to the question of what motivates
yeah,
me. It's the family. I just want
yeah,
to do well for them, really.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So build something up. So provide for them as best you can.
yeah, and it's since I've started doing this, it's just grown organically, and it feels like it's come so far now. I can't sort of change it. I need to keep pushing it.
Yeah. Did you have much of a vision for where it would go? I mean, it sounds like you had some ambition, even just sending a message to Mrs. Hinch. It sounds like you were sort of being proactive in wanting to get the business out there.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, like originally it was to just not be travelling into London all the time and to be able to spend the time with the family. And then it's just sort of snowballed over the past few years. And I think I just messaged Mrs. Hinch as a way of trying to get the name out there a little bit.
But it sounds like you didn't anticipate how it would take off from there.
No, definitely not. I wasn't even expecting a message back. It's just I was on Instagram, thought I'd send a message, and yeah, just that luck, I suppose.
You never know, do you, when a big break's going to come? And
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to be open to those opportunities. Have you got an ideal size and shape in mind for your business now? So you've taken these couple guys on. Have you got a plan to take more on down the line, or to stick with this?
I think I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
See where it goes. I've not got I don't want to be massive, like with loads of people working. I couldn't deal with the stress of it, to be honest.
And you'd end up, you wouldn't still be doing the work with your hands that you said you love to do.
No, exactly. I don't know. I think only time will tell. But yeah, just keep plodding along and see where it ends. See where it ends up.
Yeah, well, it's going in a good direction, isn't it? So it sounds good. I mean, the future looks bright. And I would have thought it's just going to keep growing.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, but I should let you go.
Okay.
And really enjoyed getting to know you a bit better.
Yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
Will do. Okay, take care.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Alastair. Take care.
Yeah, cheers. You too.
Bye.
Bye.